I don't need to tell you that in my community, the city that I represent, the city of Miami, you're one of the most illustrious representatives, and that we're very proud of you, not only the Cuban Americans, but the Hispanic Americans in my community.
Why is she leaving? I'm going to answer her questions.
I will.
Oh, okay, I got it. Well, thank you for coming.
All right, so we're going to talk about, I just want to give you time to answer and then talk about Venezuela and talk about Cuba. So let's go back to Venezuela. Let's start with that. You said that stabilization, recovery, and transition. Those are the three steps that the State Department was going to implement in Venezuela. I believe that transition is the free and fair elections. The Venezuelan has a very robust opposition forces. We have María Corina Machado. So the big question here is that in order to avoid any type of misunderstandings like the one that we were hearing from my illustrious colleague, is that we should have free and fair elections that will bring rule of law, and the rule of law will then be able to bring in a lot of investments from the United States with transparency. Why can we not start right now the process of sending the message that we are going to establish, let's say next year, at the end of next year, a free and fair election sponsored with the United States, or by the United States?
Yeah, thank you. Well, it all ties together, so I'm going to try to use the...
It all ties together,
okay.
Correct.
So let me first say about the oil stuff, which is a bunch... I don't even remember half the stuff that was being screamed at me, because most of it not entirely is false. Here's what happens. When there are sales of oil from Venezuela, they used to, sell it at a discount because of sanctions, and they had to do all kinds of evasive matters. Now they're able to sell it at market price to great benefit to the Venezuelan people. That money and those proceeds are deposited in a treasury blocked account at Citibank. That account, by the way, is audited by KPMG. KPMG has been hired and paid by the Venezuelan government out of those funds to audit every single expenditure. There is a list that's been agreed to by both sides, the Venezuelan side and the U.S. side, on what the allowable expenditures are for. So, for example, they've used 250...
I need to go to 3 other countries, so I'm not sure what the chairman wants to do, but I need to... I understand that you're answering her question.
Oh, but this is but it's tied to your point, because
right.
they'll be able to do the other ones quickly thereafter. Again, I know this is outrageous, because I have to use your time to answer questions.
That's correct, but I need to serve the community. I need to ask you about other countries. So
well, bottom line is, the money that's spent in Venezuela is audited by KPMG. It only goes to certain determined points, and it doesn't go to the individual benefit of anybody. Those are just false, outrageous
statements. So when can we pivot to free and fair elections?
So the second point is on the transition phase, which is the third phase. The second is stabilization and recovery. Part of the recovery phase is creating the conditions for a free and independent press. You need to have independent press in order to have free and fair elections. We've seen an uptick in that activity. It's not 100% there, but it needs to continue to grow. You need to give space for the political parties to organize and to mobilize, because you can't participate in an election if you haven't had the time to do so. And you need a new electoral commission. We've said that repeatedly.
And when
that
are we
needs to happen.
starting?
Well, we'd like to see it as soon as possible, but the reality, just remember, it's been 5 months, not 5 years,
Correct.
not 50 months, 5 months. 5 months is not a long time for a country that had gone through what that country went through. But clearly, we need to have a new electoral committee, and ultimately, Venezuela's future is free and fair multi-party elections.
Correct. We know that your office is talking to the Castro family, and you're sending the message that the game is over, that they need to open up the democratic game. We know that, all right? So the question is, what's delaying that process?
Well, it's not that it's delaying the process. We've had conversations. We're having diplomatic engagements with the Cubans consistently over time, over multiple reasons, and for many reasons over the years. In fact, the CENTCOM was just down at the fence line in Guantanamo, not CENTCOM, SOUTHCOM, over the weekend as well. Our message to them is very clear. If they want a path in which they can recover their country and save it...
But we understand that they are not understanding that. So then
correct.
What's next? So what can we do in order to make them understand that the game is over?
Well, we're not going to allow them to benefit from the game that they've been playing, in which they're stealing money from the Cuban people to the benefit of this conglomerate at the expense of the people of Cuba. What we are offering to do is distribute $100 million in humanitarian aid to a non-governmental organization. Well, now they say they've accepted it, but they're creating impediments.
It has to do through the Catholic Church, and they're not willing to do that.
And others, Samaritan Purse. We have a whole host of organizations that are prepared to do it.
Is there any way that we could find another Delcy #2, following the same example that we have in Venezuela, where we removed Maduro because the grand jury indicted him and he was in the transnational criminal organization lists? If that were to happen, could we find a Delcy #2?
Well, first of all, I think that some of the models you want to look at is the way the Czech Republic or Poland transitioned out of the, and one of the things they did is they did preserve certain institutions in their society in order to provide stability and longevity to the project they were in.
But we understand that there are no institutions in
Well,
Cuba.
I think
Everything
you're
is
asking me to identify, is there specific individuals in the Cuban government? I think there are specific, maybe technocrats that
Okay.
you could work with.
And would you
I think
be
it's a little
okay-
harder when you get higher up because of the ideological bent that some of them have.
And I agree with what you're saying. People that are not, their hands are not full of blood. Could we consider the possibility in order to avoid civil wars and instability and chaos?
I think the United States is open to a negotiated situation that puts Cuba on a path towards democracy, prosperity, freedom, normalcy. We would be open to that, and we would work with whoever is open to doing it. Obviously, it'll be challenging, and that system is all I've said. I mean, some of these people have committed 67 years to this viewpoint. It isn't hard, it's not going to be easy for them to
We
pivot
know,
away
but
from
have
it.
we know that very well in our community, but have we been able to identify someone that could fill that role?
Well, I wouldn't say that we've identified a specific individual that could play that role. I think there are clearly people within the technocratic realm of the government that could play some role in all of this. But ultimately, if you're asking me, is there a singular individual right now that we would trust and rely on to lead this transition from start to finish, I can't give you that name right now.
I understand. Now, we know that today Raul turns 95 years old. At 95, you're pretty old, and making decisions is very hard. We know that El Cangrejo is his grandson, he's younger, 41 years old. Don't you think that maybe are you sending messages to the younger generation to convince Raul in order to make it easier for that island, like you said, to become Jamaica or Dominican Republic, Taiwan, Singapore, and Hong Kong?
Yeah, I think that there are clearly individuals within the apparatus of power in that country that understand that what they have now is not sustainable and needs to be fixed.
But they don't have power, do they? They cannot make decisions.
Even if they have power, they don't know how to do it, or they don't have enough power because so much of it has to be consensus built internally. But there are clearly people that are aware that what they have now is not sustainable.
Let's go to Colombia. President Trump just endorsed Abelardo de la Espriella. We have information, sir, that there are forces preparing a major election fraud coming up in 3 weeks. My question to you is very clear. We need to send a message to the Colombians that they need to have free and fair elections. So are we prepared to say that whomever participates in that type of fraud process during the presidential election, can we sanction them with OFAC sanctions, canceling United States visas for them or for their family members?
Look, I can't make that. I would say to you that we are going to be very forceful in ensuring that there is a free and fair election in Colombia and do everything within our power to ensure that that happens.
Specifically,
Noise time has expired.
OFAC
Representative Dean is
enforcement.
recognized.
OFAC.